rose up this morning, smiled with the rising sun. 3 little birds pitched by my doorstep, singing sweet songs of melody pure and true, saying, "This is my message to you." And don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. Sing it, don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright.
Good morning. Welcome to your whole school assembly. Today, myself and Mr. Chowdhury are going to be talking to you about the power of reading. As always, I'd like to start today's assembly with our religious quote. This week's quote is from Buddhism, and it reads, "Do not believe in anything merely on the authority of your teachers and elders." We chose this quote today because we believe it is reading that has the power to enable you to think for yourself and to discover things outside of what the grown-ups in your life tell you. Clearly, we think reading is a powerful thing, and we'd like you to consider today how it might bring you such power. The quote at the top of this slide sums it up nicely. It says, "If one reads enough books, one has a fighting chance. Or better, one's chances of survival increase with each book one reads." But how does this work? Ultimately, we think if you read more, you gain more knowledge, you gain more language, and you gain a deeper understanding of the world around you. This will help you to survive because it helps you to develop more confidence in your voice, and it means that you get heard more. It might even give you the opportunity to bring about positive change to the world. For some of you, using reading to bring out positive change to the world might seem a bit far away right now. So let's look at this graphic for a second. It shows you how powerful reading can be to your success at school. Student A on the left reads 20 minutes every day, compared to student C, who reads 1 minute a day. And that means student A has access to 1,800,000 words a year, compared to just 8,000 for student C. Now, with more vocabulary comes better writing. And so it is plain to see that putting aside time to read just for 20 minutes a day could have the power to make you more successful in school. As well as reading's power to make you successful, I'd now like us to start thinking about the positive effects it can have more broadly on your lives and on your well-being. I found some really interesting facts. They're on the board. First, reading has the power to reduce stress and anxiety. It is actually 600% more beneficial in fighting stress than playing a video game, and 100% more calming than a cup of tea. Second, reading has the power to develop some desired personality traits. It enhances both your understanding of yourself, but also your empathy for other people, which also gives you higher levels of self-esteem and means you can cope better when faced with difficult situations. Thirdly, and this one might be the one that lots of you are really interested in, reading has the power to increase your future salary. Proficient readers have better jobs and they're 2.5 times more likely to earn £1,000 per week. Finally, reading has the power to completely change the life that you think you might grow up to have. In fact, reading is a more powerful factor in cognitive development, that's the growth of your brain, and achievement than your parents' education or your socio-economic background. So wherever you're from, whoever your parents are, the more you read, the more you can make changes to your future. Before I pass to Mr. Chowdhury, I wanted to give you some real examples of the powerful effect that reading has had on some of the students that go to APA. All Year 11 students last year, when their exams were cancelled, were tasked with reading a book ready for their A-level studies. And here is what some of them were able to say because of the impact that the reading project had on them. One of these is from Nikki in Year 11, who has read a book, Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race. She wrote, Rennie Edo Lodge has been a victim of racism and shared in the book the ideology that society has bestowed upon everyone. White is normal and neutral. I loved how the title was repeated to enhance the severity of the situation. This is a really mature response about the book from Nikki, and obviously it's really relevant. The fact that she's read this book means that she will be able to have a much more educated discussion, and she'll be able to speak with much more authority about the topic if and when it comes up. Here's a quote from Alfie in Year 11 who read The Simpsons and Their Mathematical Secrets. He said, question to ask the author. You mentioned that a future is depicted where females dominate maths and science. Do you think we are closer to achieving equal gender opportunities in maths and science, or do you think we still need to do more work to achieve this? Again, this is a really mature perspective that Alfie has gained from reading the book. He's confident enough to ask a writer who is an academic individual a question, and it would indicate that he's got a much greater understanding of some of the challenges that women may face in certain domains. Quite possibly something that he may not have even considered before reading this book. The final one is from Miracle in Year 12, who read a novel called Dominicana. She said about the main character, I had to remind myself that she was 15 because of how mature and cool-headed she was, even though internally she wasn't. What I admire about her is that even in her cage, she was able to find a sense of liberty. This comment shows a real sense of emotional intelligence. It shows like a real deep understanding of people, something that she may not have been able to appreciate without reading the book, because you don't get to experience or understand people as much as you do when you read a book. It will ensure that Miracle has a greater sense of self-regulation in her own emotions by learning from the emotions of others.
I'd now like to share with you some of the favourite reads from staff at APA. A lot of these books are from when staff were at school themselves, and what you will see is that the power of reading a great book stays with you into your adult life. Our first favourite read is from Miss Downey, and it's called 1984 by George Orwell. Miss Downey says of 1984, 1984 is my favourite book of all time. I first read it when I was about 12, and I've reread it every 2 to 3 years. The first few times I read it, it linked to the context of my history lessons on totalitarian states, such as Soviet Russia and Nazi Germany. In recent years, it seems to have become even more relevant. Even this week, looking at events in China, it really resonates with me. I think what this quote from Miss Downey reinforces is the timeless nature of works of fiction and the power of fiction to capture human experiences in the past, present, and future. Our second favourite read is from Mr. Trendle. Mr. Trendle's favourite read is called Glory Gardens Cricket Club, and it is linked to his love of sport. Mr. Trendle says of this book series, it was ideal for me in Key Stage 3, as it combined cricket as well as social elements that occur off the playing field. I really enjoyed reading these books, and would often read through each book extremely quickly, showing Mr. Trendle's enthusiasm and engagement with this book series. It also reinforces the importance of reading, which is linked to the things that you are passionate about and interested in. Miss Bingham says of her favourite read, called The Beach, it was the first book that I read that really captured my imagination. It was the first time I really found escapism in a book. The sense of adventure, danger, excitement and wonder of travel has stayed with me to this day. Miss Bingham's quote shows that the power of reading lies in capturing the reader's imagination. It is almost as if we, the reader, are living the experiences of the characters in the text. Mr. Clifton says of his favourite read, the Last Kingdom series, it was written in a humorous everyman way. It brought the dark ages to life in a way a teenage me could relate to. It helped me see the past as something familiar and human, rather than something remote, and it spurred on my love of history. There is also a new title coming out next month, which Mr. Clifton has already reserved, and he says that he wouldn't be doing this job without having read that particular series. Mr. Clifton's quote shows that the power of reading gives us knowledge of history and past events, and it can also be a source of inspiration. For Mr. Clifton, it led him to pursue a career as a history teacher. Our last favourite read is from Miss Cameron, and it is called Noughts and Crosses by Mallory Blackman. Miss Cameron says of her favourite read, "As a mathematician, the assumption is always made that numbers are my first love, but I was and still am a huge reader. I was always searching for more relatable stories, and Noughts and Crosses by Mallory Blackman was definitely the first book I stumbled across in which the characters looked like me but weren't slaves or fell into stereotypical roles. I read it obsessively, and it was definitely the beginning of me actively seeking out books written by black authors, or stories in which being black is celebrated or at least normalised." This quote from Miss Cameron reinforces the power of books and reading in capturing the diversity of human experiences, especially in our current backdrop of the Black Lives Matter protests and the issue of systemic racism that has been brought to the fore as still being an issue in our society today. The power of reading lies in reading that captures the diversity of human experiences as a way to create understanding of people and cultures that are different to our own. What you can see, I would hope, from both APA staff and students is the multiple reasons that make reading such a powerful but also pleasurable experience. I would like to end with a quote that reinforces the power of reading. "A reader lives 1,000 lives before he dies. The man who never reads lives only one." This quote shows how reading captures the range of human experiences by transcending time and space, allowing you, the reader, to share in the experiences of the characters in the stories. Thank you for listening.